Honourable Minister of Environment, Parks, and Minister responsible for the Climate Change Office.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker, and it is my privilege and honour to rise in this chamber to speak to move second reading of the Oil Sands Emissions Limit Act, Bill 25. Madam Speaker, Bill 25 establishes a 100 megaton annual limit on oil sands emissions. The emissions limit legislation, the idea, the genesis for it, Madam Speaker, came to us through collaborative conversations between the oil sands industry, between First Nations, municipalities, and from environmental groups, Madam Speaker. The Oil Sands Emissions Limit Act is part of the Climate Leadership Plan, Madam Speaker. Announced last year on November 22nd, 2015, the plan establishes, amongst other things, an economy-wide price on carbon, a phase-out of coal-fired electricity, an energy efficiency strategy, a methane reduction strategy, and, importantly, this 100 megaton limit on oil sands emissions. Now, Madam Speaker, the concept of a limit on emissions is a new one for energy-producing jurisdictions. What it does is it proves that Alberta is serious about our commitment to being a world-leading energy-producing jurisdiction in which we use the power of innovation and technology to move the province forward in what we know is a carbon-constrained future, Madam Speaker. What this bill does is it establishes government as a productive partner in that quest to reduce the carbon in the barrel. The government of Alberta was a productive partner in getting the oil out of the sand in the first place. And now we will be a productive partner with our partners in industry to reduce the carbon in the barrel. What this bill signals, Madam Speaker, is that our province, our government, believes industry, our largest job creators, that they can rise to the challenge of a carbon-constrained future. What it does is it establishes government as a productive partner in finding ways forward, rather than rejecting the science of climate change, Madam Speaker, or rejecting action, which is a de facto rejection of the science. What we have done is said, yes, we must move forward, and we do so with the contents of this Act. Madam Speaker, this Act provides for exemptions. This Act provides for allowances, not the least of which is an allowance for new upgrading in the province, Madam Speaker. This is a key objective of this government, to add value to our natural resources so that we can keep good mortgage-paying jobs here in Alberta. That is a key priority for us, Madam Speaker, and so that is why there is an allowance for 10 megatons of new upgrading within the over and above the 100 megaton cap. Madam Speaker, this cap will be, the mechanism and the logistics of it will be worked out in partnership with industry, with First Nations, with municipalities, and with environmental groups. We have established a precedent-setting, collaborative, cooperative table in which all of those who are affected are making decisions together. Now, Madam Speaker, this has historic implications for firmly establishing Alberta as a world environmental leader among energy producers. Now, Alberta has, under several previous administrations, faced increasing scrutiny related to emissions resulting from oil sands development. But our energy industry is unique in providing a significant amount of provincial and national revenue. It has also contributed to significant increases in emissions at a time when global pressure to lower emissions is growing. And so Alberta was increasingly seen as the reason for Canada not meeting its emissions targets. But what we have done is ensured a path forward with this legislation. We have ensured a path that will reinvest in new, innovative emissions-reducing technologies here at home to ensure that Alberta is successful. The cap on oil sands emissions, Madam Speaker, complements work industry is already doing to lower costs. It internalizes the cost to emit carbon at a time when executives like Suncor Chief Executive Steve Williams are dealing with a lower for longer scenario for oil prices. Because make no mistake, Madam Speaker, carbon is an input cost. Oil producers have asked governments to provide them with a carbon and climate framework around which they can make decisions about long-term investments and lowering those costs. We have done that. In many cases, reducing emissions reduces costs for producers by lowering the volume of fuel used in oil sands operations, both in situ and mining. Bringing costs down, including the cost of carbon, means survival for oil sands companies. The emissions cap will speed the transition to lower carbon fuels, allowing companies to accelerate their innovation efforts and providing new jobs and revenue as Alberta-developed technology is applied and adapted in other parts of the world. Some of this, Madam Speaker, is already happening. Smaller companies like Ensolve are working on ways to extract bitumen in SAGD operations with 80% fewer greenhouse gas emissions, Madam Speaker. Titanium Corp has tested equipment that extracts valuable metals from tailings ponds waste streams, helping to reduce methane output from those same ponds. Companies like Meg Energy and Statoil have indicated their continued interest in applying innovative solutions such as cogeneration and new technology to their oil sands operations. Instead of just talking about the issue and wishing it away, we are seeking to find specific, credible solutions that will ensure the world looks at Alberta differently. Finding access to new markets has been difficult without a climate plan, Madam Speaker. By doing nothing, Conservatives at both the federal and the provincial levels led Albertans to an economic dead end and a boom-and-bust economy that put many families in difficulty. The kind of collaboration that led to this oil sands emissions limit was unprecedented, and it preceded our government, Madam Speaker. In their 2015 sustainability report, Shannon Phillips described it this way, quote, "While initial conversations weren't easy, the groups discovered areas of common ground. Both wanted Alberta and Canada to have a strong economy, agreed that climate change issues should be addressed, and they had to work together to find workable solutions." Since the climate leadership process began, our plan has been widely praised nationally and internationally. It puts us in a better position with our most important trading partners. That includes recognition from U.S. President Obama during his address to Parliament earlier this year, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as the world adapts to a carbon-constrained future, our government has taken the position that we can either have a made-in-Alberta future on energy, or we can have, as the opposition would have us have, Madam Speaker, a made-in-Ottawa or a made-somewhere-else future. Either way, Madam Speaker, there is no turning back. There is no nostalgic olden times era where no one objected to greenhouse gas pollution or the climate change it causes. With this bill, Alberta makes clear to the world that energy-producing jurisdictions can establish limits and work and thrive within a carbon-constrained future. As a climate and energy leader, we set a better course for our economic future by creating green jobs, green energy, and green infrastructure. And Alberta must get the most value for our resources and find markets for our products, but we cannot do it without taking credible action on climate. Madam Speaker, our forward-looking approach will help shift the debate about Alberta's oil sands production, improve market access, and provide certainty to investors. Madam Speaker, our opposition is vociferously opposing acting on climate change. But I expect that even they share the views of Albertans that we need growth in the oil and gas sector. We need growth in the oil sands, and we need the world to know that we are working hard towards reducing our greenhouse gas footprint and that we need a made-in-Alberta solution. These are the elements of a growth strategy for Alberta where the environment and the economy go hand in hand, because climate change is real, Madam Speaker. Those who share the view that climate change is real are invited to demonstrate that by ensuring swift passage of this bill. The bill will send a clear signal to the world, and most importantly of all, to working women and men in Alberta families, that our government intends to balance creating new jobs while being at the forefront of environmental policy. Now, Madam Speaker, this bill is before this House because it is the right thing to do for our environment and our economy. This bill, crafted in consultation with First Nations, municipalities, affected communities, Métis organizations, industry, and environmental groups, is one more step to doing our part to addressing one of the world's most pressing problems. It is right to create conditions to get our products to markets that will pay more for our energy products as we begin the long transition to a decarbonized world in the future. We have Albertans from all parts of the energy industry who have taken great pride in telling the world for decades just how good Alberta is at energy development, at developing new technology and sharing it with the world, about creating wealth and building one of the most successful, prosperous societies on earth. That is justified pride on behalf of Albertans, Madam Speaker. Now, wouldn't it be great if those same engineers, business people, entrepreneurs, workers, and their families could also take pride in how their province is the most successful, environmentally progressive province in Canada, how their province is a leader in clean tech and all the good mortgage-paying jobs that go with it, and how their province is the most advanced jurisdiction to take advantage of our energy resources today to invest in the energy of tomorrow.
All right.
Madam Speaker, by passing this bill, we can show the world that Alberta doesn't just do business, we mean business. Thank you.
All right.